everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'd like to tell you guys today about my autism diagnosis story, part one, diagnosis story. So first off, I have one of these little fidget poppers. It's just very soothing. I like to play with it and pop it. These things are actually really good for people with anxiety, and they're also good for kids with autism. And with me being in the education nanny field, I definitely have seen these used a lot in occupational therapy and childcare. So yeah, I'm just gonna play with this a little bit while talking to you guys, just to kind of keep my mind occupied while I get into this story. So let's just jump right into this. So my autism diagnosis story. This is part one. You guys can feel free to watch many more parts of this. So my autism diagnosis story just kind of took off. Well, as you guys know, I had been going through evaluations over the last month, and I had been going through testing with my psychologist, and I had been going through therapy for months, and it's just been a really long intrinsic process. Yeah, it's been a really long intrinsic process. Basically, the diagnosis started, it took off with me taking an evaluation test with my psychologist. I actually was in a room with my psychologist for about 3.5, 4 hours. I did a series of questions with him. He asked me questions about my behavior. He asked me questions about my family medical history. He asked me questions about my own personal medical history within my childhood and adolescence and youth, because as you guys know, I'm in my late 20s now. So he wanted to just know all my medical history for my whole life. So he asked me that, and then part two, the second day of the evaluation, I came on one day, and then that had to be processed. And then the second day of the evaluation that I had to come, it was another lady in his department that interviewed me with an IQ test that had me to take a series of questions, an IQ test, and evaluations, and that took another few hours. And overall, the process was about, between both days, overall, the process was about a 5 hour process. And they just asked me questions based off of, they had me to do like puzzles, and they had me to do like personality assessment. They had me to answer questions based off of how my personality was as a youth and how my personality was as an adult. And then they also had me fill out paperwork for both myself and my family members or relative or spouse or partner, just to measure, get an indicator of my behavior. So that whole process took, like I said, about 5 hours between both days. And then it took a couple of weeks for them to process the information. I had the evaluation done the end of April, and then it took a couple of weeks for them to process. And just about a week ago, the middle of May, my doctor called me and gave me the results back. And he actually diagnosed me with two diagnoses of being completely on the Asperger's spectrum syndrome disorder. Asperger's is another form of autism under the DSM-5. So he diagnosed me with having Asperger's spectrum syndrome disorder, as well as extreme social anxiety. So that cleared up a lot of everything, my wondering, because I had been curious over my life why, even though I'm very social and I enjoy being in the church and I enjoy doing things with people, I just wondered why I was going through so much social anxiety where I didn't understand people's jokes or people's sarcasm, or why I wanted to be by myself most of the time, which is kind of interesting because my boyfriend is a total introvert as well. So we both kind of like being to ourselves, but some kind of way we come together. But so yeah, it cleared up a lot of my wondering why I have the different ways that I have, and have the different quirks that I have, and have the different special interests that I have. And it was just very, very helpful. So I'm very thankful and grateful that I went through the evaluation process. I'm grateful for all my doctors that have helped me, my therapists that encouraged me to find this psychologist. And it's just been a long process, and I'm just ready to advocate for women with autism, women on the spectrum, and to help children. As you guys know, I serve children as well. I'm just super excited about the process. But if you guys would like to know more about ASD, Asperger's Spectrum Disorder, Autism Spectrum Disorder under the DSM-5, you can definitely feel free to follow my videos. I will be talking more about this in the coming months, as well as I will be doing other things geared to just my personal life and vlogs. So stay tuned for more, and this was part 1 of my autism diagnosis story. I'm so glad you guys tuned in to see it. Thank you so much. Have a great day.